We're back with a member of our NBC News family sharing an important message for women.
You can catch Zinhle Essamuah every morning, anchoring on every day, I should say, on our streaming channel, NBC News Now.
Well, this morning, Zinhle is sharing her own story. We are going to speak with her in just a moment. But first, here's more on her health journey.
I've spent my career spotlighting health and social disparities around the country. And I've reported a lot on Black women's health.
Do you think you would be here and your kids would be here if you hadn't had a doula?
Not at all.
But now I'm opening up about my own health journey. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with fibroids, tumors that grow on the uterus. Up to 77% of women will develop fibroids sometime during their childbearing years, according to Johns Hopkins Medicine. And only about 1/3 are large enough to get detected. I had lived with my fibroid symptoms, heavy periods, and painful cramping until 2 months ago, when I ended up in the emergency room. I learned one of my fibroids had doubled in size, as big as my entire uterus, affecting my comfort and daily health. So I looked into treatment options and recently underwent surgery.
I'm a little nervous. Let's see how this goes.
It was the first step in my road to recovery, and it's one I hope will encourage more women to take their health into their own hands.
All right, well, Zinhle is here with us now, along with her doctor, director of NYU Langone Center for Fibroid Care, Dr. Taraneh Shirazian. You went to the best, didn't you?
Yes.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. So first of all, just how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm so much better. And you know what? I was telling you all during the break, this happened. I ended up in the ER the evening before I was meant to be on your show. And you can see some of my delusion being on my phone.
Yeah, because they were like, something's going on, and we think she's going to make it. Yeah. Now I see where you were. I'm like, girl.
No, I was not okay. But, you know, I was dealing with the symptoms for so long, and my symptoms had been dismissed for so long that I think being in the ER, I thought it can't be that big of a deal. It was. Thankfully, now I'm okay. I got a surgery. And after researching, as any good journalist does, some good specialist, Dr. Shirazian popped up, actually on the Today Show. She was doing an interview with you all, and I got that surgery. I'm much better, and I've actually enrolled in a long-term study at NYU Langone that's going to be looking at women like me who've gotten the surgery and seeing how we do over time.
That's good.
Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing I find is that a lot of women have fibroids but don't even know it. You had some inkling because of your mom.
100%. So my mom had fibroids. Fittingly, actually, she was diagnosed at the same age I am right now.
Wow.
When she did it, she was an immigrant, didn't have insurance. She ended up at a health clinic. For me, I knew her story. She had 3 kids, me and my brothers, and used to call her fibroids Tom, Dick, and Harry. Because they were with us throughout her pregnancies, right? So I was aware, and as I said, I reported on disparities, and yet I still ended up in the ER. So for me, while this is a personal thing to talk about on national TV, I wanted to make sure more women know about what's out there and the resources that exist.
So, Dr. Shirazian, let's bring you in here. So, what are who can get them? Who's most likely to get them, and what are some symptoms?
Well, I think one of the most important things is that fibroids are so common. 70% of all women have fibroids. All people who have uteri have fibroids. So it's very important to always keep it in the top of mind when you are symptomatic, or even sometimes when you're not symptomatic, just to sort of have a sense of what's going on. So some of the most common symptoms are bloating, bleeding, pressure symptoms, pain with sex, urinary frequency, difficulty getting pregnant, pain. So there are a whole constellation of different types of symptoms. So it's very important to kind of be aware of the range of symptoms. And then as far as incidence, or as far as the women who are affected, you know, there's racial disparity with fibroid disease too. So Black women are more affected than other racial groups, although all groups are affected. So I think it's really important to know all of those things when you think about
Is that because of genetics or because of access to good health care?
It's complicated. I think it's probably a combination of things. I also think that, you know, to Zinhle's point, women get dismissed. So often if they go in early with symptoms, you know, there are many providers and doctors that are telling them, just watch those symptoms. Like, it's okay.
And you know what happens? I can't tell you how many friends I know who end up in the ER with fibroids the size of oranges and grapefruits. And you think you just have a pooch, and it's like, oh, no, there's something there. So let's talk about treatment options. There are times, I remember back in the day, women just thought they had to have a hysterectomy, and they just thought they weren't going to be able to have children. But there are other treatment options out there. And also, how do you make sure you're not going to be damaged if you do want to have a family?
Right. And I think that's one of the most important points, because I think a lot of women are scared. I think a lot of women.
We talked about it. I'm like, you got this.
Yes. Yeah. And I think one of the most important things is there are lots of choices. You can pick your choice. Just do something to address your symptoms and help yourself feel better, basically.
Right.
So we have medications. There are some medications now that will help shrink fibroids, oral medications. We call them GnRH antagonists. They do have some side effects, but there are medications, and we do use them sometimes in combination with other things. There are procedures that can now shrink fibroids. So radio frequency ablation is one of the newest tools we have to try and shrink fibroids so that they don't grow bigger, so that we treat bleeding symptoms, we treat pain symptoms. We have surgical options like hysteroscopy, where we go in with the camera into the uterus and remove and resect what's in the cavity. Myomectomy, where we remove the entire fibroid, and of course hysterectomy, and even uterine artery embolization. So those are other procedures that exist. But there is a choice for you. You do not need to suffer. There are enough choices that you can find one that works for you, that addresses your symptoms, and that gives you better quality of life. And I think the main thing is women don't have to just sit there and deal with it. We have options.
We can feel better.
Can feel better.
Thanks for
Zinhle, thank you
feeling better.
for sharing your story.
That's true.
It's so important. All right. And by the way, they'll both be sharing more of her story on NBC News Daily later today on broadcast and streaming.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.